Welcome to the Rebel's Edge, folks. I'm John Najarian. My brother Pete Najarian will be joining me shortly to discuss exactly what Biden stepping out of the presidential race means for your stocks. Stay tuned. Bang!
And here we go. Do you have it? Really? He's got the book. Yes.
So the book instead of...
Yeah. It's not an option,
Welcome back, folks. Yeah, that is indeed Pete Najarian. I'm John Najarian. This is Newport, Rhode Island, folks. And you've got that beautiful hello. They've got an Opal conference going on here, Pete, which is family offices. And so it'll be just like when I do them in the United or American Airlines lounge, Pete. There might be some people walking around and saying hi.
No, that's okay. That's live TV or video or whatever you want to call it. That's the way it is, man.
Yeah, it is. You're right. And Pete, we do have to discuss, the sitting president saying he's not going to run. Right. Obviously, that's going to impact stocks, folks. But the former president, Trump, is still just crushing in the polls. And of course, we don't know who the Democratic nominee will be. We do have Kamala Harris picked by Biden, but he doesn't get to decide that. He can say she's my choice, but I think it'll be pretty much an open convention, Pete, where they can, fight for who's going to be the Democratic nominee.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
It's going to be complex for sure. I mean, it's something we've never seen. So it's, somebody this close on a real party, Democratic Party. This is a big deal. And I think people are going to find out a lot about a lot of different things by the time we get to November.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's kick it off with the macro minute, Pete. Macro minute, I'm going to say it should be about energy because Pete and I have been talking about it for months. And now with President Trump, perhaps certainly in the catbird seat at about a 70% vote on a lot of the prediction sites, up double digits in almost every state. Here you've got energy stocks moving up. And then when President Trump says, hey, drill, baby, drill, maybe they're a little rolling over sort of thing, Pete, because drill, baby, drill might mean there's more U.S. crude oil on the market rather than less. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great choice. I think that's very, obviously it's the macro world that we're in. I'm going to go just a slightly different but similar direction as you did, John, and I'm going to go on the political side because normally we look at the Fed, we look at Jerome Powell, and we say, there is no bigger market mover than them. Well, there is maybe one, and that would be a president, right? And when a president decides, you know what, he's been, talked to by all sorts of people. People have been asking for him to step down. And I think that is a big deal. We're finding out that we've seen market swings that have been all over the place. All you got to do is go back to last Friday. John, the volumes are absolutely off the charts. We're averaging 57 million contracts a day in July. So that gives people a little bit of an idea of just how crazy things are getting. In the last couple of trading sessions, it's been a monster time as well. So for that being said, I'd say for that particular category of macro, I'm going to say right now, it's what's going on, and it's Trump, it's Biden, and I'd have to say it's Harris because we've got to get this thing sorted out.
Yeah, and we will. But remember, the Democratic convention, folks, isn't until August 19th. Right. I think they might have it decided by then, Pete. But, the last time this happened was when LBJ stepped out at the convention and said, I will not accept the nomination. So this will be very, very interesting.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk for a moment, Pete, about gold, because money managers and their wagers on gold, highest level in 4 years. 4 years, folks. Why? Because uncertainty, and certainly a lot of people want to hedge their portfolios, and the way a lot of them do it, Pete, is with gold, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're dead on that one, John. We talked about gold. We've talked about silver. I'm going to go back to our good old friend volatility. I mentioned about these markets and 57 million contracts trading on average in the month of July. So all those may and go away, John. They better be eating the crow. I mean, that's ridiculous. And we've talked about that many times, but I'm looking over at the volatility index itself going from a 12 to a 17. And now here we are. We backed off a little bit today. We're down towards 1560, somewhere close to there. So the markets are definitely digesting things as we go, but certainly volatility has been an absolute monster over the last week or so.
Yeah, certainly, Pete. And it doesn't look like that fever is going to break yet.
No.
And let's lead right into another fever that's not breaking, and that's Crowdstrike. Yeah. Because, of course, last week they disrupted almost the entire world, because CrowdStrike does an awful lot to secure the whole world. They don't have every site secured, but they certainly had a big fall last week, and they continue it today, down 13% right now, Pete. And who benefits? Palo Alto Networks, Sentinel-1, symbol S. A lot of volume and volatility in those stocks because of this horrible sell-off in CRWD.
And I'm a little bit surprised, John, that they aren't up even more. I mean, based upon the news, and let's be honest, this is not a cyber attack. This is something completely different. This is the launch of an upgrade, and it has gone nothing but south. There are still issues with Delta Airlines. They were talking about it today locally here in Minnesota about some of the issues there. I think they've cleaned up a big chunk of it, but this is never a good thing. People, like we were just saying at the top, uncertainty is never something the markets very much like. And you take a look at CrowdStrike, it's gotten slammed. The volumes have been there. We've also got a couple of folks out there on the street that are dropping them from a buy to a hold. I mean, it's getting hit again, John, down about 10%-ish, somewhere in there, but sitting right around 263 to 265, somewhere in that category. But you're right. I'm surprised. I'm looking at Palo Alto. I'm surprised it's not making a bigger move to the upside. I would just expect to see a big morph to different stocks other than CrowdStrike right now. And a lot of folks are hitting the sell set button still, but they're not really hitting as hard on the buy side on names like Palo Alto as I would have expected.
I would too, Pete. I think PANW and letter S for Sentinel-1 should be getting more love. But nonetheless, keep an eye on those two because volumes are high. And volatility, Pete, one of your favorite things, is through the roof in CrowdStrike right now, up way over 100%. Pretty scary. All right, let's move on down to Ryanair, Pete. Now, we don't talk about this one a lot, but we know it's one of the largest discount airlines in the world, based in Ireland, of course, and CEO Michael O'Leary basically saying that, hey, our quarterly profits are not good. They're not where we want them to be, and the public is not flying on a deep discount airline, Pete. So I'd say this is yet another canary in the coal mine as far as the consumers are pretty close to tapped at this point if they can't even afford Ryanair, Pete.
No, you're exactly right, John. It's really interesting. I mean, stock's down 17%. It's very close to the lows. It's trading, call it 96 today. It was trading all the way down into the 92s, which is very fast approaching that 52-week low of 87. So this is a stock that's taken it on the chin. And I'd say for all the right reasons, John, when you look at the profits that they put up, and they only dropped 46% year over year, that's all. Not a big deal, right? So when you look at some of the numbers that they're putting up, and they don't really give you a great idea necessarily, because they say that they've got more passengers, but also those passengers are coming on only if the pricing is right. And anytime that price gets a little bit, so there's demand, but the problem is the demand is for the really low end seats. And they're finding this to be a really big challenge for the right reasons. It's been aggressive discounting as well. So how long can a Ryanair last if their profits keep dropping like this? And what they were saying was, it looks like in the future, it's looking a lot more similar to what we just talked about, in the previous quarter. If that's the case, this is not only a no touch, it might be something you might be looking at a put in there, John, to maybe get a little ride to the downside, because quite frankly, I don't see why this thing's going to turn anytime soon unless the economy start to really pick up even more.
Yeah, and I think that's a first quarter of 2025 story, Pete. Not until.
Yeah.
That's not me rooting for it, folks. That's just me looking at the evidence out there. All right, Pete, more evidence. Verizon, VZ. Basically, their sales were only up 0.6% year over year. That's not what the street wanted. And their costs are going up. Why? Because in order to retain subscribers, folks, they're having to give away things like Netflix or Disney Plus to keep people loyal to Verizon. Otherwise, maybe they'll go over to something else, whether that's AT&T or T-Mobile or even some of the cable providers, like Comcast. A lot of these guys are competition for the wireless carriers. So, man, this was not good for them.
No, it was very surprising to me as well, John. By the way, that sales number you talked about, when everybody else, not everybody, but a big majority of those that have been reporting earnings, and you're seeing some of the jumps in terms of the revenue, the sales, and you look at some of these jumps up 6%, 14%, 18%, whatever it might be, and this is 0.6%. Wow, that's a problem. The subscribers that you were just talking about, that number was up, but they're sure giving away a lot, to your point, John, to be able to get those. So that's why I think this is something where, are they giving away a little too much? Supposedly, it was up about 17% year over year for the subscribers themselves, but we aren't seeing much of anything in a good way on the revenue side. And the earnings side, they were in line, but that wasn't necessarily impressive, especially in a market where we're getting to the point where we expect beats on earnings, right? And when you don't, if you just meet it, and you meet at the number, in this case, $1.15, that's not going to get people all that excited, and that's why the pressure's on the stock a little bit today.
Yeah, and when inflation's running 3 to 3.5%, Pete, and your numbers are only growing by less than that, you're really not a great investment for folks. I'm just saying, we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about RTO, which is a funny name stock, folks, Rentokil. And what do? They're the parent company of Terminix. So pest control. Well, they might get a takeover offer, Pete. That's what a lot of people are looking for. And we've got Nelson Peltz talked about this and we talked about it on the show at that time. The stock eased back down, and now it's getting a 7% pop today on another renewed interest, but we don't know from who, Pete.
Right. Well, private equity, from the sounds of it, John, they are kicking the tires, and they're moving around, and we're starting to get a little bit more and more of this. And you talked about Nelson Peltz. That's always an aggressive guy right there, and his whole group, of course. And if they're making a move, which they did about a month ago or so, and started to pick up some of this, this is a name I think you want to have on your radar. And if so, maybe there's a time frame that you'd be looking for, because from the sounds of things, this thing is starting to get a lot of people's attention. Now, if that actually transpires into something, what level are they going to go to? We don't know that, but we're certainly going to keep a really close eye on the options world, because there's nothing better to give us a forecast of, hey, there's a lot of interest coming over towards this one. I haven't seen anything yet there, John, but that's why you put these things on your calendar, on your computer. You want to take a look and see where are they. That's one to follow, because I think that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we may even not know about how much, because right now they're talking about different private equities, obviously Nelson Peltz as well. And at some point, somebody might be jumping the shark and going to get in there. We'll see. It should be fun.
Oh, it will be. And my prediction, Pete, is that if a deal is on the table, it's got to be in the mid 35s. I don't think it happens at the level the stock is at right now. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about sports. Mm-hmm. And I know one of your favorite guys, Shohani, as I call him, But I know you wanted to start off with your friend Joe Mauer, and he is a friend of Pete's, folks.
Yeah.
So Pete,
Joe Mauer,
take it away.
Joe Mauer, for the people who don't know, all they know of him is, he's a catcher for the Twins. And yes, indeed, he just went into the Hall of Fame. And so he was in Cooperstown yesterday. And so this isn't just like the Minnesota Hall of Fame or anything like that. He's already in there. I mean, that was a slam dunk. John, he's the only player or athlete ever to be both the basketball or the baseball player of the year and the football player of the year coming out of high school. I mean, his numbers are outrageous. He was an unbelievable quarterback, offered by everybody, decided to go to Florida State, but then all of a sudden he gets drafted by the Minnesota Twins, first pick. And the guy literally spent very little time getting warmed up for major leagues and jumped in there not too long after, John. The history of this guy that not many people know enough about is amazing. I mean, he might be up there sort of with the Bo Jacksons of the world and some of these other great athletes that we talk about all the time, because he did things that nobody else has ever done in his position in baseball. And like we said, he also was a basketball player. He only averaged about 20 points. He was getting rides in basketball from everybody as well, John. So this guy's an athlete. How about this? 6 All-Stars, 3-time Golden Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger, 3-time AL batting champion. Now, that's a catcher. And for a career, he was batting .305. Not so bad. The guy's over 300. I mean, when you look at the numbers, and it's staggering how, first of all, the longevity that he had, but also the ability as a 6'5" guy playing catcher and the stress that puts on your body and everything else. Man, just a fun kid. It was a very exciting time for not just Minnesotans, but everybody. But I don't know if you ever got a chance to see him in person, John. I did see him in football, but wow. I mean, the guy stood out because of his size, his arm, everything, athleticism. The guy really can do it all. And it was a big weekend here in Minnesota with him.
Yeah, and Pete, these accolades are very deserved. I think, just like you said, Bo Jackson, I'd even throw out Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
I mean, because Jim Thorpe was a guy who ran in the Olympics, folks, in dress shoes because somebody stole his spikes. This guy is that kind of guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, just an immense talent. And the guy might be as nice as he is talented, Pete.
Yeah.
Because I know you say that he puts in a lot of time with charities and a lot of time with Cretin-Durham Hall, the school that he came out of.
Yeah, he's unbelievably generous with his time, with his money, with everything, and he did well. He did very, very well. But it ain't all just sitting in his pocket. He's always doing something for the community, for St. Paul, and of course for his alma mater of Cretin-Durham Hall as well. He's done every building over there is named after the guy, for crying out loud. I mean, he's given them millions and millions and millions of dollars over the years. All right, speaking of a guy who's kind of a Superman, Shohei Ohtani is really something special. And you and I, last year we talked about this guy a lot. And then unfortunately he had the misfortune of the elbow issue, right? Well, that really cost him because he was only able to sign a contract for damn near $1 billion. What was it, $750 million or something? Some unbelievable number, right? But as deserved as anybody, I mean, what he's doing in baseball has never been done. He's not pitching this year. He'll start maybe again next year. He's still only 30 years old. In baseball, you can play pretty far into your 30s, maybe even the low 40s. So when you look at his numbers, John, across the board, I mean, this guy is Superman. But last night, he hit a bomb. I think it went just south of 500 feet or something like that. Absolutely unbelievable. So here's a guy who's batting .315. He's number 4 in Major League Baseball. He's got 120 hits for number 4 in baseball. He hit last night 473-foot bomb that others are saying is a 500-something foot bomb, but it was miscalculated by people. I mean, when you're hitting areas of the ballpark that nobody's ever hit before in Dodger Stadium and things like that, you're doing something pretty damn special. And he's he's the only guy in the first 100 games, not the only guy, he's one of the top 5 guys in only 100 games who has 30 home runs and 20 stolen bases. How about that? So this guy, he's not just some guy who's eating sausages in the dugout and then coming out there and hitting it out of the park. He can run too. So it's amazing to watch this guy. And I would tell everybody, and I've told people here in Minnesota forever, hey, Dodgers come to the Twin Stadium over here, you better go watch him. This guy is an amazing guy to watch because his athleticism is sort of in that Joe Mauer kind of world. And he is a talent that's worth going out to watch if he's in your city.
Oh, I absolutely agree, Pete. And he definitely has something very special for a big guy like him or Aaron Judge to be able to, with those larger strike zones, because, of course, Judge is 6'7". Yeah. This guy's 6'4". They're not little guys like Pete Rose that crouch down. Yeah. I mean, these are big strike zones, and yet they both hit for average and hit for power. Just incredible. Love watching him play.
He's a talent that people do need to go watch. I mean, I honestly mean that because, I've said that about Anthony Edwards a couple years ago, and I'm saying it about Shohei last year, and I'm saying it again right now. Go watch this guy play baseball. He is an athlete. He does it all. And it is amazing. I mean, he's second only to Judge right now for home runs. And Judge, like he's a big son of a gun, and he is a great player. But Ohtani does a lot more in a game than Judge as far as using his athleticism, stealing the bases, how he runs the bases. And if he comes back to pitch again, that is definitely a show that you want to watch.
Absolutely. Well, folks, the other thing you absolutely want to do is sign up for It's Not an Option. You can get it on our website. It's notanoption.com. It's a great book. It'll help you understand how options can make you a better investor by letting you define your risk on entry, as well as getting some leverage and perhaps diversification. Because instead of tying up $130,000 on a $130 stock to buy 1,000 shares, we can show you how to do it with $1,000, $2,000, whatever. So make sure you check out It's Not an Option.com. And Pete and I will be back here tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time.